of Lincoln to tell you about the great news they just received. Andy, please tell us all about it.
Each year, the Lincoln Journal-Star has an award program called the Lincoln Choice Award, where the customers in Lincoln get to choose the best places to do business. Great pleasure, I get to announce that Honda of Lincoln has won the award for buying new cars, used cars, automotive repair, and even oil changes.
That is amazing, Andy. Any more good news?
Yes, there is, Charlie. We now have more than 100 new Hondas in stock, with hundreds on the way, and a huge selection of all makes and models on our pre-owned lot.
Incredible. Maybe it's time you come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
It's time to go one-on-one with DP. Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios. Here is your host, Derek Pearson. Brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Live on a Friday. Yes, sir. Shout out to Austin Orman, Nick Sainert for the call. State title. Congratulations to the Norris Titans winning their state title just a few moments ago. There's one more state championship match tonight, ball game tonight, and shout out to that. And we appreciate and want to celebrate the young men who made that call. They've been doing stellar work all week, carrying the state championship tournament. And then shout out to the Omaha Supernovas. And I just have to say it, that being on the journey and watching their process, built from day one, the inaugural season of the Pro Women's Volleyball Federation, the federation itself and its organization, the inaugural season franchises who did the work. And again, this is a thing that didn't exist 9 months ago. And to see them arrive, to have Omaha stand up, set the attendance standard and records for all of indoor pro volleyball, and then to have it play out the way it played out in the Final Four on Wednesday with the number 4 seed Grand Rapids team knocking off number 1 seed Atlanta, and then the Supernovas losing sets 1 and 2, then coming back and reverse sweeping to win 3 straight sets to get themselves in the championship. They will play tomorrow at 3:30 at CHI Health Center. We're expecting a record-breaking crowd. And if you want to be a part of it, we have the freedom and opportunity through the graciousness of it all that if you'd like to go see this championship match, hit us up on the text line, 402-465-5685, 464-5685. If you want to be a part of what's happening in Omaha for the championship, please text in. A couple of things before we have this conversation. We appreciate folks who hang out and listen to these programs each day and have conversations. And I hear so much about these conversations when I leave the station. And it tells me that these conversations are important, that they're landing. And tonight is another one of those conversations, because one of my favorite people to have these conversations with joins us tonight. And it's the beginning of a series of conversations with the coach. And Ron Brown joins us on one-on-one tonight. And Coach, I am forever grateful for your want and desire to show up.
Well, it's an honor, DP. It's always I love the one-on-one with you. It's a great challenge. You're kind of weathered well in a variety of different sports. Just listening to you share what's been taking place with the volleyball team in Omaha, that professional team, it's exciting because we've seen the incredible explosion of women's sports, women's volleyball, fantastic athletes, well-trained athletes. But, to see the fans in Omaha, I'm not surprised, man. I mean, the people in this state, they love sports. And so anyhow, anytime we can get on and do a one-on-one, I get the privilege of doing a one-on-one with DP over the vehicle of sports and life. It's a great privilege.
It is spectacular in that you and I reached a common ground pretty quickly in that old head in new space. Sometimes that technology and new movements, new voices, new verbiage kind of makes people uncomfortable. But then we remember to get back to the base.
I'm an OG, bro.
Right. Like to get back to the base, right?
That's right.
That sometimes, in order to simplify things, and that coaching adage of when chaos happens, slow down, and chaos ceases to exist. And we forget that because people train and scream faster, more, when quite frankly, sometimes the answer is be still.
Yeah. I was listening to Caitlin Clark after her first couple of WNBA games, challenges, obviously, because of the supreme talent in the WNBA and also I think those athletes are jacked for her. I mean, they're getting up for they're not just accepting her coming in and being a superstar right off the bat. But I loved her response. Her response was, what? They're going to be learning experiences. And she said, everything seems to be going fast right now in her brain, but the game's going to slow down at some point. And I think there is a valid foundational wisdom in that, because when you are living a life based on foundation, then you're not in such a hurry. You do have a peace and a calm and a poise that comes over you. It doesn't mean you're slower. It actually means the game seems slower because your brain now is able to pick up the speed that it needs to respond with quickness because you're basing things on a strong foundation.
Yeah, that foundational thing gets missed a lot of times in whatever facet, whatever tentacle sports takes you to, right? That the core of it has to be what it is that you're trying to do. Like, what are you trying to do? Who are you trying to be? Why are you trying to do it? And we get caught up in, okay, there's the money. There's the ego. Then there's the peripheral stuff, right? Being popular. But ultimately, it has to get back to being a good person, putting in good work, finishing good work.
Yeah. Yeah. You had Johnny Mitchell on some time ago.
Yep.
And of course, I recruited Johnny and coached Johnny. He was like a son to me, and I miss him. I love him. I remember one day we had a very interesting conversation while he was playing here. He only played here a couple of years, and then he declared for the NFL draft, first round pick, great talent. But we talked about foundation one day, and Johnny was always wanting to be great. And I've never had a problem with a guy who wants to be great. Right. But I said, Johnny, before you take a building and build it real sky high, like those skyscrapers, what has to happen first? You have to start digging down, because the taller the building, you need a deeper foundation. And going down first, deeper first, is painful. It's painful to be digging down in your life. And you know what? Sometimes when you're building a nice new tall building, it seems like it takes forever, and it doesn't seem like anything's happening because you're digging down below SEE level, below sea level. But then when that foundation is laid like it's supposed to, now you can build a very tall building on a great foundation, on a deep foundation. So I think that really applies to the not only to sports, but to life in general.
Yeah, I always crunch up a little bit when I hear people say Nebraska can't look back all the time. You can't look back all the time. And I curl up a little bit because it tells me that you're not being respectful of the foundation, that you're not aware of the root. You're not giving respect to the root. Any conditional part of the program now is just actually a seedling to the leaf, to the tree, to the branch, to the tree, to the root, to the earth, and all the things that go along with it, that every program needs a Coach Ron Brown around to just whisper in corners, pay attention to your foundation. Like, because that's how, if you get out on a limb and the limb starts to waver, what do? You don't go further out on the limb. You go back to the base of the tree. You have to go back to it in order to know, okay, this is what works. This is where our strength is. This is where our foundation is. This is where you go when time's trouble.
Yeah, I think that's a good word, DP. I think sometimes we can get fearful of history, and yet we hear the saying history repeats itself, and the reason why it does so often is that there's nothing new under the sun.
No.
There's a lot of the same things that happen, no matter what the modern technology is or how life is different back, 40, 50 years ago. A lot of the same processes are still happening, certainly within the life of a human being.
Joe Gibbs used to laugh because even back in the 90s, he talked about the evolution of football, the evolution of sports. And Joe Gibbs would just laugh every time, and he'd take off his glasses, and he's got this slight Carolina country drawl to it. And he goes, boy, we forget this game's pretty simple. Yeah. He goes, I don't care how big you are, how tough you think you are, but if you can't tackle, you can't throw, and you can't run, you can't play.
Yeah.
And that is the thing, that in recruiting, tell me that you can do the base thing exceptionally well all the time.
Yeah. I mean, what's under the hood? What's under the hood? I mean, the pretty car that sits in the yard looks like it can go fast, furious. It looks good. It sounds good. But will it leave that driveway?
Yeah.
If the engine isn't what it should be, it ain't going anywhere. It just looks good. But what's under the hood is really important. And I think, even back when I was a kid, DP, it was the Dallas Cowboys versus the Green Bay Packers, the frozen tundra, and all the commentary from guys like Vince Lombardi and Tom Landry. You can look at that stuff and say, nah, those days, those guys, you couldn't coach like that anymore. You couldn't coach people like that anymore. Yes, you can. In fact, I think there's a lot of wisdom in it. You know what I mean? About what's inside of that engine, your character, it still comes down to human effort and resiliency, and to be thinking about your thinking and not allowing ridiculous thoughts to come into your brain where you lose your poise and you succumb to fear and all those things. The choking that we talk about, it happened 55 years ago as it happens today.
Right. Isn't that distraction? Isn't that like all of what you just described is, so they were talking about, and it happens in the NBA playoffs, and it happens in the NHL playoffs, it happens in Major League Baseball, where now somebody reacts in a moment and they just flip, they snap. And somebody says, well, it's difficult times. They're in a difficult spot. And then ultimately it goes back to the organization, the coach, the leadership saying, when did we practice that?
Right.
When did we practice throwing a basketball at a fan? Like I've been at most of the practices. What day did we spend time saying, okay, first of all, it's okay for you to be distracted by a fan yelling at you in the back. Second of all, plan B, 1A is being frustrated, actually paying attention. Plan 1B for us as a team and as an organization is to grab the closest basketball and throw it at a fan. Like you understand how absurd it is that we justify going outside of your space, your normal planned space. And I love it when coaches tell me, here's the plan. Because the plan tells me you know how to get, one, you've identified where you are. It's that GPS. You've identified where you are, who you are, how you get there. You know what? Here's our record. This is the work we've put into to date. I think we're in a good spot. Ultimately, what we need to do is I want to play good football. And in good football, there's all these things that have to happen. Like we've got to rely on each other, trust each other. We've got to prepare. We've got to have our hands, our head together hands together, heart together. And if we do that, we'll win the next game that we play. After that, we're still going to work towards that thing. I worry sometimes that fans will get caught up in the angst of it, the emotion of it, instead of the actual reason why it exists.
Good point. Really good point. And, and so when somebody picks up a basketball and decides to do something with it that they shouldn't do, isn't that a lack of emotional stability? I mean, isn't that a lack of discipline over your emotions? And whether it was 100 years ago or today, human beings are still prone to that. And they have to be taught that there's going to be an accountability to this. This is just, you cannot do that kind of thing. It's never been okay to do that.
Right.
But yet it's become okay to do that.
Right. Like Coach, it's fascinating to me, right? That players will adjust, fans will justify, because there are people that like chaos. There are people that prefer chaos. And it's never about the people who are actually involved in it. It's how they're receiving this game that's being played and what it means to them. But the reality is, chaos is never, ever preferred in sports. We can try, as coaches, we can sometimes try to create it on an opponent by doing a thing that we've never done before, right? Maybe we'll put a player in a position that we haven't put him before. Maybe we're going to defend the thing differently than we have. But those are plans. People think of it as chaos. No, that's a plan. Chaos is when you go away from what you prepared. And if you have a plan for, when I get angry, I have the conversation with me first. And I can talk to coaches and know right away whether they're going to be successful. Because if they tell me that a thing went left, if some chaos happened and they said, I missed that, I have to handle that better. I have to get us better. I have to be prepared for that. Like you know what? I should have gone to what we do because I have a rule for that situation. If I'm the coach I say I am, I have a rule for when chaos happens.
Right.
If you don't have a rule for it, chaos is going to take over.
No doubt. I go back to when I used to live in New York City, and I lived up in Washington Heights, Harlem. And I'm telling you, DP, every night it was chaos. There were gunshots going off, sirens, police cars, crowds yelling. And here I am in my little apartment, and I had 6 locks on my door. And the reason I had those locks on the door is like, look, this out here, this junk out here, that's chaotic. But it doesn't have to be that way in my space. I don't have to live that way. And so I think it's really important to use that analogy, that metaphor, is, if you're in sports or whatever it is that you're doing, you have locks in your brain that say, I don't let that stinking thought come into my brain. I'm not allowing the chaos to come into my life. Y'all can be chaotic. So I think the players that overcome chaos, what it's not chaotic for them. The culture may be chaotic, but they're operating out of peace and poise and control and discipline and effort. It doesn't faze them because they've got locks and a filter in their brain that says, I reject that. I receive this.
That is ultimately, and it might even be unfair from the outside in, looking at coaches, because I'll say this about coaches, because players copy coaches. And that's the missed part in college athletics. Players copy coaches, especially coaches that they respect. And if you find out, Ron Brown finds out that, you know what, there's an event going on down the street and you got a big game coming up, and Coach Brown decides, you know what, I still have work to do. That's my priority. That's my focus. That other chaos can't reach you. Now, it's going to find you because other people don't have your level of discipline and they don't have your level of foundation. But what happens in good programs is that consistency at the top takes over. And that's why I have all the hope in the world for this Nebraska football program. It has you in it, being foundational, being solid, being directional. That's how I think this plays out for this program. For Husker fans that are wondering, you know what, is this going to get better? Yeah, I kind of think it is. We're going to go to break. We're going to come back, and I'm going to ask Coach Brown about some other things that are sitting at the top of my head because he is in the recruiter's world and he is in those living rooms and in those corners and having conversations. I want to ask Coach Brown about some of those moments and what he uses as his playbook when he goes into the home of some of these recruits and some of the conversations are being had. This is One-on-One on the Ticket.
What's the radon level at your home? Don't know? Find out with a call to Bryant Air Conditioning and Heating. Make sure your home is safe with a radon check from Bryant. If you've already tested, ask Bryant for a free estimate for mitigation. Once completed, you'll get a report showing how much safer your home is. When it comes to radon, call Bryant 467-1111 for testing and mitigation. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine room. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for spirits and cigars, Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstorats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
If you've been putting off your health, what are you waiting for? The Summer 10-Week Challenge at Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping is exactly what you need to kickstart your wellness. Farrell's gives you all the tools, coaching, support, and accountability you need to be successful. The 10-Week Challenge begins on June 8th, and monthly payments are now available. Head to fxblincoln.com for all the details. Stop taking your health for granted and get started with Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping.
At Fairway Meat Market, your family, and as part of the family, they want to save you money on your meat and groceries. Now through May 19th, enjoy fresh chicken hindquarters for 69 cents per pound and fresh Duroc pork shoulder for $2.49 per pound. Plus, for Friday and Saturday only, USDA Choice Whole Boneless Ribeye Loin for just $10.99 per pound for the 2-day sale. That's all at Fairway Meat Market in the Rockledge Square Shopping Center, just south of 84th and Van Dorn.
The first ever Pro Volleyball Federation Championship is set. The Omaha Supernovas will face the Grand Rapids Rise this Saturday at the CHI Health Center in Omaha in the match for $1 million for the right to claim the title in the inaugural season of the Pro Volleyball Federation. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 2:30 p.m. with first serve at 3:30. Make sure to tune in for the next Ag Appraisal Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Pro Volleyball Federation Radio Network.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Far too many kids in our community face extreme challenges due to homelessness, abuse, and neglect. Despite the troubles these kids face, we believe in them. Believe in giving them the safety and stability they deserve. Your gift on Give to Lincoln Day will help us provide services to meet kids where they're at, while also showing them how far they can go. Please make your gift to Cedars on Give to Lincoln Day.
Houses? They're expensive. And once you buy one, you're kind of stuck with it for a while. You need to make sure you get your best house for the best price. You need Ben Bleicher and his team of pros at Professional Realty Group. They'll take the time to figure out what's important for you in your dream home, and they have the expertise to find the hidden issues that could surprise you after the sale. That's professional knowledge, proactive service. We call that potential. Ben Bleicher and the team at Professional Realty Group of Berkshire Hathaway's Home Service Ambassador. Find more online at prg-ne.com.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
You're listening to One on One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
On a happy Friday, and congratulations to everybody listening. Right, everything that you went through, all the struggles, stresses, questions that you had, none of them beat you. You made it to your weekend. Congratulations.
Yeah.
You made it. Like, hey, man, hey, say what you want.
All right.
That you're still in the pool of an elite brand and level of human being. Undefeated. Undefeated. All the stuff that you worried about, all the luggage that you carried around, all the stuff, the burdens and problems, that you are still undefeated.
Absolutely.
Today is day 22,574, Coach Brown.
Is it?
22.
You got
574.
You got it down, man.
Hey, well, listen, because this was the only 22,574 I was going to get.
I thought you were talking about the years that I've lived.
Right?
The days I've lived.
Well, some of those days I've lived in some places where the joke was that I've lived in some places that if I had terminal illness, I'd move there because every day seems like an eternity. So,
man,
there's some places where those days are long.
Yeah,
but I have appreciation for it because it's not all guaranteed, and they're not all top level, but they're all purposeful. Because we learn every day. Like, we're all smarter today than we were yesterday. We went through some stuff yesterday. We saw some things yesterday that we've never seen before. We talked to people we've never talked to before. We are smarter, stronger, better. We've never been older than we are right now, and we'll never be as young again.
But the key, I think, and I agree with you, the key is the application of that experience, those nuggets, those deposits. It's the application of it and how we now will use them, because otherwise they just rot. And so I think that's what I have to get myself thinking about each day. How do I apply with wisdom the new experiences that I get hour by hour, day by day?
That really is the thing. In sports, we practice to get better every day. And people talk about, 1% better. The 1% is in every repetition.
That's right.
Like we complicate it. But running a pattern against a set in any situation, whether circumstance or otherwise, is different than we've ever done it before. We've never done it at the strength level that we have currently. We're never running it at the speed. We're never running it against the person that we've run it against in that time, down, and distance. It's never been done. So every time we go through it, ball placement. Listen, we can catch a quarterback 100 times, ball delivery is different. Different windows. They're going to throw to a different window and a different timetable, different down and distance on the field awareness, all of those things, how you feel. This could be your first route of the drive, or it could be your 5th route of the drive. And if you've run 10 bang 8s, that 10th one is a problem. Everybody runs that first one good. That 10th one in the 4th quarter, that's a different one. So the intelligence behind it is, as a coach, to tell people 1 rep at a time. Clear everything that you've done. Clear everything. Forget about it. All I need from you in this route is the route right now. Because in that moment, in the 4th quarter versus Michigan, is different than in the 1st quarter against UTEP. They're not the same.
That's right.
The thinking, the process is the same. What we want is the execution to be the same, right? That you're aware.
You know, I've always, again, there's a lot of wisdom in what you just said. And I there's a Bible verse that really hits me, DP. It's Proverbs 22:29. And it says, do you see a man who's diligent in his work? That man will not stand before average men. He will stand before kings. That's a basic principle that God has given us. And it goes back to the word diligence, which means exercising a skill set over and over and over and over and over again. It's the picture of Kobe Bryant taking 1,000 shots, 1,000 3-point shots per day, 500 before school, 500 after school. It's the over and over piece, the repetition. And it's not just, I chalked it up. These are the numbers I did. It's the quality of each rep. It's the diligence within each rep. So it isn't just the quantity, it's the quality. And I think that's a great lesson for young kids. That's one of my favorite lessons for middle school kids, because a lot of the parents want instant success. They want guarantees. And man, if my kid's not doing this and he's not here, then he won't get a chance for this. I think, if you could eliminate one thing out of a kid's life, it would be laziness. Laziness goes away, flies away, and now there's a diligence in that young man or young lady, and they are working skill sets with over and over and over again with the right habit. It's not just practice makes perfect, it's perfect practice makes perfect.
I think that when, and one of my favorite coaching spaces was in the Utah coaching space when Bill Bush was there with Urban Meyer and Dan Mullen and Charlie Strong, and they had Brian Johnson, and they had some Kyle Whittingham. They had some guys, and their thing was they almost pushed the imperfection as the key, because it allowed humanity. It allowed, foot placement. Because if you go quiet on an effort, maybe the worst thing you can do to a perfect rep is to call it a perfect rep, because you've changed anything that can be worked for from there.
Good point.
Right? Like you can, like this.
Good point.
Great. Like, perfect.
Yeah.
Repeat.
Yeah. How do you define? It's really perfecting, isn't it? It isn't like we've finally arrived at the perfect thing. It's the perfecting. It's an action verb.
How you pursue that is everything.
Right.
Everything. It would be easy for me to walk into this radio station and say that I'm prepared as well as I can. But that's disingenuous to you, because it means we're not actually having a conversation. I can't hear you if I'm working on a question. I can't appreciate. I can't even receive it.
Yeah. I used to hang out with Urban Meyer years ago, and he was an assistant coach at Notre Dame. And so while I was here at Nebraska, back in the day, we were running option offense, and I was coaching the wide receivers and the tight ends, and Urban was coaching the wide receivers at Notre Dame, and Lou Holtz wanted to run an option offense. So we would get together and just share our notes and films and so forth. And, it's not only the perfecting of a craft, but it's getting kids to do something that the world doesn't herald. In other words, you're not going to make an All-American team if your wide receivers are good blockers, but you're going to help them win some championships now. Let me tell you.
Yep.
But you won't have the stats to be an All-American. But will your kids sacrifice things like that for the benefit of the team? And how do you as a coach take that approach?
Delivering the message is one of the most vital things adults, coaches, mentors, teachers, parents, partners in life do. Delivering the message. Receiving it is the sign that you are exceptional on the other side. And it's vital. Like the best people receive information. They receive the message. But delivering the message is important because you have to be present. I've got to know that how Ron Brown hears, how he feels, how he sees. Otherwise, I'm just screaming into the vacuum. and coaches have to explain that listen, I need for you to hear me right now. A coach that uses those words is purposeful. Like that is the mission part. Listen, telling a young person, I need for you. Ben has had to deal with me on these several times, right? That I told Ben that what he wants to perfect in his life, what he wants to excel at, that I'm going to help him with. But I need for him to hear me.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Right?
That's a good word because, and here's the other thing. I think Coach Rule has done a really good job with our football team this way. Not to fear the mistake or the failure because of what maybe others might say. Yeah. I think that's so important, man. And so it's a proper reward and a proper rebuke. And in that process, expose our weaknesses. Do not be afraid, Ron Brown, to expose your own weakness. Don't get all butthurt because somebody said, hey, you need to improve a little bit in this or that, because we wanted to take on that ego. It's only EGO, but it's much bigger. It's a much bigger word than that, right? I mean, it's hard to contain that little word, but really, we got to slice and dice that thing up, man. We got to get rid of that ego. It's got to become even a shorter word for us.
Right. We know the word for it. We know, we know it. We know That's it. Right. And I've worked on this thing that I understand. I have to say we, us, our more than I say I and mine. I as a coach, I had to learn it. As a husband, I had to learn it. As a dad, I had to learn it. As a teacher. And in conversation, and Ben and I had this conversation just last week. And I said, Ben, I'm going to give you some things that I'd like to see from you so that we can get better at what we do. Ben, I'm going to prompt you. And I know this is a win. The thrill of victory.
Back at it.
So hilarious. He's so hilarious. This young man had never watched The Wide World of Sport.
Oh,
nope.
Okay. That was a long time ago, bro. You were a little boy then.
But that's
I was still a grown man when
that was how, Coach, that was where my love for this started. Yeah. That I remember Jim McKay in Munich.
Yep.
And it had to be explained to me what was happening at the Munich Olympics. It had to be explained to me what was happening with the basketball team. It had to be explained to me why people were angry at sports. And it helped me understand that for me to say, I never want to be that. And it was necessary. Absolutely necessary. We're toward the break. One final segment with Coach Ron Brown before we hand it back to the baseball guys in good old-fashioned, good old downtown Omaha, Nebraska. We'll be right back.
Load up on meat and more this spring at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Havelock. This week's special through May 21st is the revealing of the Mystery Box promotion, a $225 value for only $99. That includes 3 8-ounce fillets, 2 4-ounce fillets, 4 New York strips, and 4 8-ounce sirloins. Also, 15% off all spices. Locations at 84th and Havelock and 30th and Yankee Hill in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town.
Put lawn irrigation on automatic. Think Judson Irrigation for worry-free service to Lincoln homeowners and business community. Judson Irrigation will turn on your sprinkler system in the spring, repair or redesign as needed, and turn it off in the fall. For service to orphan sprinklers, remember Judson Irrigation. They'll never forget you.
Call the Judson Irrigation Orphanage, 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Hi, it's Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC, and it's truck month at Coppell, and we want to sell them all. Choose between 0.9% APR or as much as $8,000 off list price. Yes, you heard right. That's 0.9% APR or as much as $8,000 off list on select new GMC and Chevrolet inventory. So please make that money-saving drive to Coppell in Louisville or check us out online at coppellcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with approved credit must trade and finance.
Ready to add a dash of Southern flavor to your week? At Wings and Rings, their brand new Southern fried wings have arrived for a limited time. Indulge in the irresistible goodness of large, traditional bone-in wings coated in a crispy beer batter and fried to perfection. Try them with hot honey or any other sauces. And for those busy summer days coming up, look no further than their Southern Fried Wings Family Bundle. Wings and Rings, 2 Lincoln locations on O Street or Village Lane.
Cover more acres with a pre-owned sprayer or planter from Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealer. We offer one of the area's largest selections of used sprayers, applicators, planters, and seeders. Through the month of May, take advantage of fixed-rate financing as low as 4.75% for up to 60 months or an 8-month interest waiver. Visit your local Landmark Implement location or visit our complete sprayer and seeding inventory online at landmarkimp.com and experience the Landmark difference.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here, summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend.
Join us each Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon for Youth Football 101 with Tank Perry of the Nebraska Red Wolves of 7-on-7 football. The future of the sport depends on the foundation set at a young age. Hear those stories and more each Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon here on 93.7 The Ticket. The first ever Pro Volleyball Federation Championship is set. The Omaha Supernovas will face the Grand Rapids Rise this Saturday at the CHI Health Center in Omaha in the match for $1 million for the right to claim the title in the inaugural season of the Pro Volleyball Federation. The Mullen Motors pregame show with Derek Pearson and Renee Saunders starts at 2:30 p.m. with first serve at 3:30. Make sure to tune in for the next Ag Appraisal and Realty postgame show right after the match ends. Catch all the action on your flagship station, 93.7 The Ticket, and statewide on the Pro Volleyball Federation Radio Network.
You're listening to One-on-One with DP, sponsored by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Man, if we could get this right. If we could ever get on the same groove.
One nation under a groove.
If we could just get under one groove. Man, like a good thing in space. We were talking about Dave Zinkoff, the 76ers announcer back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Who brought out in the great Julius Irving.
Yes.
we miss so much of the historical remembrances, right?
No doubt.
Like we know where we were. I asked Ben what sports moments could he tell me where he was when they happened? What are those iconic moments? So, Coach Brown, I ask you,
okay,
what are two iconic sports moments where you know where you were and what you're doing? And I know the easy answers would be, hey, winning titles. I'll
leave Nebraska out of it.
Okay. Sports moments that where you remember where you were and who you were with.
All right. So I remember watching, I don't know if many people remember this, but some of the boys I grew up with do. It was Walt Frazier of the New York Knicks back in the day, might have been probably the 70s, early 70s, against a rookie from Cal for the Bullets named Phil Chenier.
Yes, sir.
A look-alike. They look like each other.
That is, you know that.
You remember that?
Phil Chenier is my family.
Is he?
Phil Chenier, we would travel to Iceland together.
Really?
Yeah, Phil, look, man.
All right, now, so this one doesn't play out on Phil Chenier very well. Because you remember one game, Phil Chenier, Frazier was a great defensive player.
Yes, he was.
Arguably one of the greatest defensive guards in the history of the National Basketball
Top 5
Association.
easily said fact.
And great offensive player, just a great player. But Chenier, young rookie, comes in here, and he's trying to, dib and dab, talk noise. So during the course of a game, something happened where he turns around and punches Frazier. Now, you expect retaliation now. No retaliation from Frazier. You know what Frazier does? He kind of just holds his chin a little bit, walks around, just kind of puts a towel over his face, and doesn't say anything back to Chenier. And so they stopped it. I think there were probably a couple technicals or something.
Yeah.
Chenier was not removed from the game. But here's what happens: Walt Frazier, Clyde Frazier, goes on and he just tells DeBusschere and Bradley and Willis and all those guys. He said, "Hey, just give me the ball." He didn't say one word. He just took the ball and he scored like 8 straight times on Chenier, and the whole place went nuts.
But that's the response.
Oh man, that was a great response.
Like we were talking about foundation.
Yes.
Character, not letting chaos take over.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
And the funny thing about this story is Phil Chenier is the least likely punch a dude in the face guy in the history of the NBA. Phil Chenier is, first of all, again, Ben, knowledge right here. Go and find pictures. One of Walt Clyde Frazier, who was the most stylish player.
I know Walt. I know the player Walt Frazier. Yeah,
him as a cultural icon. The best dresser in the league.
Yeah.
Calvin Murphy will debate that, but it was Clyde.
Yeah, I know
Clyde
Walt
the
Frazier.
Clyde the Glide.
But
Phil Chenier's jumper was the silkiest smooth thing.
Smooth.
Like it, when you hear people say like butter, yeah, that was Phil Chenier's jumper.
I got research to do.
Yep. Give me one more sports moment that you remember where you were and who you watched it with.
Oh, well, let me see if I can come up with another sport here, DP. All right. This one wasn't anything super special in terms of the performance of the play, but I was in Fenway Park as a kid. Our Little League baseball team went to Fenway Park to watch the Yankees versus the Red Sox in the late 1960s. And I saw an icon take his last swing as a Yankee in Fenway Park. And he fouled out. I was sitting in the left field bleachers near the wall, near the big wall there, the green monster. My boys and I, we were all sitting up in there, and this guy gets up and he fouls out. His name, Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle, man. So that I remember that. Now there's many others, but my brain, you caught me off guard.
Well, this is what the beauty of sports does. This is what, and it's beyond that, because we have our political moments where we remember where we were, like 9/11. I was in DC, so I remember my mother calling me I said, baby, do you have it? When your mom calls you early in the morning, there's the thing. Baby, you get your TV on. No, Mom, turn the TV on.
Mm-hmm.
Those words can only be said in her voice because 9/11 was happening in D.C. and it was going to change my life. And I can only hear it in my mom's voice. I can only hear Jim McKay describing the 72 Olympics and saying, there are none left. Describing that there were victims. There are none left. I can only hear Howard Cosell, down goes Frazier. I can only, there's certain things that sports does that it allows moments. And one of these shows, we're just going to let the listeners call and tell you their favorite moments that you were involved in.
That's cool.
Because when they describe those championships, when they describe the players that you know who them as greater people than players. But we're going to spend the whole show just having the listeners tell you moments that make you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That would be that. Listen, we've said it 100 times. I'll keep saying it. I'm never going to have a complete conversation with Coach Ron Brown because there are too many tentacles of greatness that we need to get to. There are too many points that I could never have a conversation with you that was complete because you are an endless fountain of information and direction, and it's necessary.
Well, I'm honored, but there are seemingly endless things to talk about. And you know what I love? I love that sports is the conduit of the conversation.
It gets to walls and it gets to the corners.
Because it takes you beyond just sports. Like you mentioned 9/11. Now we're looking at, now we're looking at the whole world, man. We're looking at terrorism. We're looking at military. We're looking at broken hearts. I mean, I just when you even mentioned it, I remember living in New York City, looking down the Hudson River on a sunny day. I could see the Twin Towers every day standing up there. Here I am now on 9/11, 2001, here in Lincoln, Nebraska, looking at TV, seeing those buildings crumble down, man. I'm just thinking, wow. But that's what you just did in just a quick flash of a time. It brought out all kinds of things.
Sports does that. That's why this station exists. Coach Ron Brown, you are an icon. Thank you, my friend. Greatly appreciate it. We'll do it again next week. Stay tuned. State Baseball Championship. Nick Sainert, Austin Orman in Omaha. They will bring you the call. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be a fantastic baseball Friday night. And then Saturday, Omaha, Nebraska, Supernovas for the chip and $1 million.
Love you, AD. Love you, AD.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet.